Welcome to the CA Multi-Image Manager Dynamic AutoTune feature video. My name is Susan Mangus. I am a software engineer in the MIM development group. In this video, we will have an overview of the Dynamic AutoTune feature. Prerequisites, MIMplex environmentals, activation, and operation. For CA multi-image integrity, enqueue transaction performance is critical. In many data centers, the enqueue/dequeue reserve workloads can vary dramatically among the individual systems in a MIMplex. Systems running TSO and/or lots of batch jobs might have an enqueue rate well over 100 per second, while other systems running IMS, CICS, and DB2 for online applications, the enqueue rate may be near zero for long periods of times. This situation is normal and dependent on the type of work done on each system. This situation causes an unusual type of performance problem in a busy MIMplex. Hundreds of transactions can accumulate in a control file before a low-activity system gets around to accessing the control file. This accumulation causes unnecessary overhead on a busy system, which shows up in both extra CPU time and slower control file access times. The net effect is that the presence of a low-activity system can impact the performance and cost of operations on all other systems in the MIMplex by additional control file blocks, extra I/O, higher reserve times, slower enqueue service times, and the system workload throughput, as well as higher MIM CPU time cost. Prior to the Dynamic AutoTune feature being added by RO90745, this was a manual process that involved two phases: analysis and implementation. The analysis phase consists of issuing the display I/O and the display service commands on all systems in your MIMplex and examining the communication method used, control file cycle rates, and transactions processing data for each system. The implementation phase consists of changing the values of the set option mode, cycle, and interval parameters to increase or decrease the MIM control file cycle rates on individual systems. With the system workload changing dynamically and frequently, this tuning may be obsolete within seconds, minutes, or hours. The Dynamic AutoTune feature lets CA Multi-Image Manager automatically tune control file access rates. This feature prevents customers from tuning the accesses manually and often, depending on the workload on each system in the MIMplex. When you enable the Dynamic AutoTune feature added by RO90745, CA Multi-Image Manager self-monitors control file access rate transactions and I/O rates. During the evaluation period, CA Multi-Image Manager calculates rates, updates counters, and the set option interval is either increased, decreased, or reset to the initial value based on the findings. For example, the average number of transactions processed per control file cycle during the evaluation interval is reviewed. If the rate is too high, the effective interval is decreased. If the rate is too low, the effective interval increases but does not go higher than the current set option interval value. The Dynamic AutoTune feature works only within a single system and has essentially zero overhead. If there are multiple low-activity systems in the MIMplex, Dynamic AutoTune feature would need to be turned on all low-activity systems in order to see the positive benefits on the high-activity systems. The Dynamic AutoTune set option values are on or off with a default value of on. There are 5 sub-options for AutoTune: eval interval, low threshold, high threshold, minimum interval, and delta. It is recommended that default values are to be used unless you are informed otherwise by CA Multi-Image Manager support team. If you do not wish to enable the Dynamic AutoTune feature, you must code set AutoTune equals off in your MIM commands parm member. Here you will see the explanation of the set options for Dynamic AutoTune. Eval interval is the time in seconds for assessing the control file performance, which has a default of 60 seconds. Low threshold is the low threshold for transaction processed rate. When the transaction process rate drops below this threshold, the interval will be raised. Default is 100. High threshold for transaction processed rate. When the transaction processed rate exceeds this threshold, the interval will be lowered. This high threshold has a default of 200. Min interval. Minimum effective control file cycle interval in seconds. AutoTune will not reduce the effective interval below this value. Default is 0.01. Delta. The amount in seconds to raise or lower the effective control file interval. The default is dynamic. When lowering the interval, AutoTune will automatically adjust the interval by 50% of the previous effective interval. When raising the interval, AutoTune will adjust the interval by 12.5% of the set option interval value. To get the best performance from Dynamic AutoTune, your Mimplex should be set up to run with the following set options in your Mimplex and run on all systems. Mode equals demand, interval equals 1.0, cycles of 1. To take advantage of the Dynamic AutoTune feature, you must be running CA Multi-Image Manager Release 12.5 plus PTF RO90745 and have AutoTune option set to on. For the best results, it is recommended to have the Mimplex running in demand mode with an interval of 1.0 and cycles of 1 on every system in the Mimplex. In the following demo, I will be running CA Multi-Image Manager Release 12.5 with PTF RO90745 applied on a 3-system Mimplex consisting of XE03, XE13, and XE62 with the communication method of DASD only. The Mimplex will be running in demand mode with an interval of 1.0 cycles of 1 and the command and message prefix being the asterisk sign. To activate the Dynamic AutoTune feature, ensure that CA Multi-Image Manager Release 12.5 plus PTF RO90745 is applied to the library. Restart the CA Multi-Image Manager address space via NIPL or using the Restart Manager feature. By default, AutoTune is set to on. If you wish to turn off AutoTune feature for your systems, you can enter Set AutoTune equals off on each system in your Mimplex, or define Set AutoTune equals off in your MIM command startup member. The following commands have changed and can be used to verify that the AutoTune feature is on and functioning. Display MIM option and Display I/O. Outlined in red, you will see AutoTune options have been added to the command output for Display MIM options. The option is on with the following sub-options, which are defaults. As well, outlined in red, you will see the new section for AutoTune interval on the Display I/O output. Here you will see the AutoTune calculations that occurred for the current evaluation interval. AutoTune is officially active on this system. Again, AutoTune is a local feature and must be activated on all systems in the Mimplex to get the full benefit. In the demo, I will show you how interval values will change based on the NQ/DQ activity occurring on the system. To begin the demo, AutoTune feature will be turned off and all systems will begin with low NQ/DQ activity. AutoTune will be turned on and NQ/DQ activity will increase on XE03 while XE13 and XE62 remain low. During the demo, we will be looking at the Display MIM option and Display I/O command output to see the interval value change dynamically. If you no longer desire to run Dynamic AutoTune feature, you can turn it off dynamically by entering the Set AutoTune equals off command on each system in your Mimplex. Remember to specify AutoTune equals off in your MIM commands member so it does not get turned back on at IPL time or restart time. We will now begin the demo. We begin our demo with a Display Systems command to ensure all 3 systems are active in the Mimplex. We will verify that the AutoTune feature is currently turned off by the Display MIM option command. And the Display I/O command does not contain a current AutoTune feature interval. I will now turn on AutoTune feature on XE03 with an evaluation interval of 15. Re-entering the Display MIM options and Display I/O, you can see the feature is active. I will now go to XE13 and activate the AutoTune feature with an eval interval of 15. I will display the MIM options and Display I/O to verify that the feature is active. I will now jump to XE62 where we did not activate the AutoTune feature. The Display MIM option shows the AutoTune feature is off. In the first part of this demo, we turned on AutoTune on XE03 and XE13 with an evaluation period of 15. We begin the second part of this demo by issuing the Display MIM option command on all three systems in the MIMPlex to ensure AutoTune feature is on XE03 and XE13 and off on XE62. I will now begin to generate a lot of NQ activity on XE03 by starting 3 jobs, S1, S2, and S3. Due to XE03 being the busy system, when you enter a Display I/O command, you will see no change to the interval value. Jumping to XE13, a slow NQ activity system with AutoTune feature active, I will enter 2 Display I/O commands 15 seconds apart. You will see the interval value be decreased the first time, and the second time it will be decreased again. Jumping to XE62, I will enter the Display I/O command, and you will see there is no change to the interval value due to AutoTune feature is off. Going back to XE03 and entering the Display I/O command, you will see no change to the interval value. It is still 1.0. Switching to XE13, the Display I/O command output still indicates an interval of 0.125. I will now cancel 2 of the 3 jobs that are causing NQ activity on XE03. Switching to XE13 again and re-entering the Display I/O command several times, you will see the interval increase due to the workload on XE03 is decreasing. I will now cancel the last NQ activity job on XE03. Again, switching to XE13 and re-entering the Display I/O command again several times, you will see the interval being increased until it reaches 1.0. Switching to XE62 and XE03 and re-entering the Display I/O command, you will see the interval has not changed. I will now turn on AutoTune on XE62 with an evaluation interval of 15 and enter the Display MIM option command to verify AutoTune is active. Again, I will begin to create activity on XE03 with 3 jobs, S1, S2, and S3. Switching to XE13, the Display I/O command output already shows the interval has been decreased. Switching to XE62, the interval is also decreasing. Entering the Display I/O command several times, you will see it continue to decrease. I will now cancel all NQ activity jobs on XE03, and we will watch the interval on both XE13 and XE62 increase. XE13 Now jumping to XE62, the interval has already increased. Increased again. Again has increased. And has now increased again. And has now increased to 1.0. Going back to XE13, the Display I/O command will show interval of 1.0. This concludes the video portion of the training. In this video, we've introduced the CA Multi-Image Manager Dynamic AutoTune feature, discussed the prerequisites for implementation, the environmentals, activation processes, and operational aspects. Thank you for viewing this video. To learn more about this product, connect with other users, and share your own experience, visit the Event Management and Automation community at the URL shown. This concludes the training on the CA Multi-Image Manager Resource Sharing Dynamic AutoTune feature. For more information on this feature and all things on CA Multi-Image Manager, please visit support.ca.com and docops.ca.com.